Hi, my name is Leanna Rabaya, and today I am going to talk about organophosphate pesticides and its effect on an unborn fetus. Organophosphate pesticides are some of the most toxic pesticides used and are also the most commonly used pesticides in agricultural settings. These pesticides are used to destroy, repel, or control organisms. They serve as an acetylcholinesterase enzyme inhibitor, which allows acetylcholine to build up, ultimately interfering with the muscle response and function of vital organs. This will eventually cause death in pests. Common types of organophosphate pesticides are chlorpyrifos, acephate, phosphate, dimethoate, and diazinon. While organophosphates serve as a positive influence agriculturally, it causes a negative effect once introduced to a human body, especially to a pregnant woman's fetus. Pregnant women are exposed to organophosphates a variety of ways. Some women are agricultural workers and are exposed to the pesticides while working around the crops that have been sprayed. Other women live with an agricultural worker who then tracks the pesticide home. There have also been cases of women being exposed just by living within close proximity of an agricultural setting that uses organophosphates. Lastly, women can be exposed by simply consuming products in which organophosphates have been introduced. There has been evidence that fetuses can be exposed to pesticides because pesticides have been found in amniotic fluid. The pesticides that are able to pass through go through the blood-brain barrier and also the placenta. Studies have shown that fetuses have lower detoxifying enzymes such as chlorpyrifos oxidase, which deactivates organophosphates. This implies that they may be more vulnerable to exposure. Exposure causes acetylcholine to build up, and this causes alterations in expression and function of nuclear transcription, and it also inhibits cell replication, differentiation, synaptogenesis, and axonogenesis. Effects of exposure to these pesticides can produce physical as well as non-physical deformities. Physical effects can range from cleft lip and cleft palate, low birth weight, and reduced length and head circumference due to intrauterine growth restriction. Non-physical problems such as social and emotional deficits, autism, and mental retardation have also been reported. It is also known to cause cerebral palsy, which is a disorder that affects muscle tone, movement, and motor skills. Other studies have shown that high prenatal levels of chlorpyrifos in cord plasma have effects such as psychomotor and mental development in children as young as 3 years old. In order to prevent in utero exposure to organophosphates and its harmful effects, women should avoid agricultural work during their pregnancy and avoid areas where pesticides have been used as much as possible. It is understandable that agricultural work is how some of these women make a living, and leaving their job is not an option, which is why employers should properly train and set stricter restrictions when it comes to pesticide exposure. Women can also reduce exposure by not consuming fruits and vegetables that have been exposed to pesticides, or they should ensure that the produce is being washed thoroughly. Another option is for women to purchase organic produce while pregnant, which does not use any synthetic pesticides. There have also been human health risk assessments performed using the reference dose or acceptable daily intake, which defines what an acceptable level of human exposure to pesticides would be. These exposure levels are believed to not cause any negative effects and are standardized by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency via the Food Quality Protection Act. This act ensures that there is a risk assessment for pesticides that show a common mechanism for toxicity. In regards to organophosphates, there is a specific risk assessment based on the potency in inhibiting acetylcholine. This can potentially restrict use of some organophosphates, particularly when multiple residues of organophosphates are found in certain foods. Currently, there are multiple issues that surround organophosphate pesticides. There are more studies on the possible effects of low chronic exposure and if genetic susceptibility makes certain individuals more sensitive to organophosphate toxicity. Other issues dive deeper into topics such as children's sensitivity to organophosphate toxicity and if all organophosphates have the same effect on individuals. It is also being studied whether or not all organophosphate pesticides have the same mechanism of toxicity or if differences in a toxic mechanism allow subclassification. This would change the risk assessment of organophosphates and make some available to use.